Welcome to Inspired Nonprofit Leadership, where you'll hear insights and useful strategies, as well as lessons learned from other nonprofit leaders and valuable tips from a variety of experts. Here to help you with the challenges and opportunities you face day after day is your host and nonprofit leadership expert, Sarah Olivieri.
Hello, nonprofit leaders. I'm Sarah Olivieri, your host, and this podcast is here to assist people like you, executive directors, board members, and other nonprofit leaders unleash your full potential. Having been an executive director, a board member, and now a consultant and coach myself, I truly understand the challenges you face, which is why I'm here to bring you incredible guests, tips, valuable information, and inspiration. And along with the special guests, I also offer weekly bite-sized tips in your email inbox, which you can access at inspirednonprofitleadership.com/sign up. You'll also find the link in the show notes. Let's dive in. I have a special guest for this episode, Brandon Dean Johnson, who is the CEO of nonprofit Create Now, an LA-based nonprofit dedicated to empowering underserved youth through arts education. And he has a very impressive background in graphic design and fine arts from Elizabeth City State University. And he has contributed to major projects in companies like Disney, Warner Brothers, Netflix, and has worked on titles like Marvel's superheroes, Black Panther. As the founder of Bigfooters LLC and creative force behind Hoodlin Mania, he continues to innovate in animation and digital media. So let me welcome Brandon. Before we dive into the world of specifically nonprofit leadership, will you share a little bit about yourself personally to round yourself out as a whole person?
Yeah, I'm here virtually. You guys can't really tell, but if I was to stand up, I would be the same height as LeBron James, maybe like a quarter inch shorter than him. But I'm a really tall guy, athletic, built, played football in college. I still coach football now to youth. But yeah, if you ever see me in the streets, you might think I'm a basketball player before I am a nonprofit leader.
I love it. Have you been, are you a basketball player just for fun? Let me ask.
Just for fun, yes. But if it's competitive, I sit out. Football is my thing. But if they need a tall guy out there, I'll definitely, I won't shy away from a.
I love it. I can get what that means. My ex-husband, father of my child, is 6'5", and people are always like, "You must be a basketball player," and he's like, "No, he's also an artist." Like, not the basketball player type, but I know what it's like to have that life where like people always think you must be a basketball player because you're tall. So yeah. Anyway, but you are, in fact, a wonderful nonprofit leader. Tell us a little bit about your organization and how you came to be running this great Create Now.
Yeah, so Create Now has been around since 1996. So we're coming up on our 30th anniversary pretty soon. But I stumbled into Create Now 10 years ago when I moved from North Carolina out here to pursue work within animation. And during my time of traveling, I ended up being unhoused. I didn't have a house or a home to live in, just due to the fact we were young. Me and my friends that moved out here together, we were young, and we got bamboozled out of our rent money or deposit money. It ended up just being on the streets. And during that time period, I told myself, if I ever make it out of this situation, I'm going to find an organization to become a part of. So once I landed my first job, did a Google search, found a handful of nonprofits that I reached out to, and I got turned down by all of them, for the fact of them saying we're at capacity, or we don't need we don't need you right now, or you don't meet the qualifications. But Create Now was the only one to reply back to me. I sat down with the founder and the CEO at the time, Joe Gurr, and we just went over things that I could provide and do. And yeah, from there on, I just climbed that ladder, not knowing that I would end up in this position, but went from volunteer to teaching artist to board member to board chair, to now the guy at the top seat. So definitely a crazy, fun journey, but I'm meant to be here, and I'm glad to be here to provide for the youth that need it most.
Yeah. I'd love to tell me, what are the skills that you came in with, and then what are the things that you have gained along the way that have prepared you to be a successful nonprofit CEO at the top?
Yeah. Skills, just a person that doesn't run away from an issue. I think that's very important, especially in the nonprofit world, is you see the issue and you want to see it get done. So being able to be a person that's just strong-willed in that way, I definitely came in with that. On top of leadership skills, that's a lot of issues with organizations to where they just don't have proper leadership. That's something to where I can see what the problem is. I can put people where they need to be and also give them the grace to just allow them to do it without micromanaging. That's something that I also came in with. And then my production background is working in animation, just realizing the time frame that it takes to get stuff done. It's the same within animation, to where you want something to get done right away, but knowing that it takes time to build something is something that a lot of leaders just don't know and have. So I came in with a lot of cool perks. Some things that I learned while in this position is like, hey, you got to bring in money. So the fundraising aspect of it and what it takes to be able to make connections and so on. So networking is one of the biggest things that I've been learning to do a lot of. Even though I was doing it before, but now it's like on the next level. And what is that story that we're telling to people? Getting that fine tuned, because as a volunteer and even as a board member, you don't understand the day-to-day activities. So getting that day-to-day work base under me to now be able to go out and tell potential donors and partners and volunteers like, hey, this is what we need the most support in. It was very key for me to learn once I got in this position. So yeah, that's the journey so far.
Yeah. Wow. I'm really struck by those things that you came in with are some of the most foundational things that I find nonprofit leaders need. I remember when I was in my early days of running nonprofits myself, I had, people had asked me because I found myself as an executive director at age 25. And people were like, well, Sarah, like, how did you make this happen? I was like, well, honestly, like, I'm just the one who just didn't give up. Like, everybody else quit around me and I was the only one left. So I got the job because I was willing to stick with it and push through hard times. But I want to kind of fast forward to actually, like, literally today, you said about being realistic about the time it takes to get stuff done. And that's so key. So the thing that was happening to me today, I coach nonprofit leaders now, and we were literally talking about how I don't know a single human who doesn't overestimate how much they think they can get done, like in a week, in a day. And so much about being a good leader and creating an organization of people who, are making great progress is learning not to overload our plates and creating systems to be more realistic about it. And so, I mean, it's great that you came in with those skills is really great. I'd love to ask you more about this relationship building work, because I know that's something, fundraising and relationship building is something that a lot of leaders struggle with. It feels hard. So what are you learning along the way? What's been helping you level up how you're doing that?
Yeah, I definitely have always been a people person. So being able to have a conversation with a stranger has never been something I've been afraid of. When it comes to the capacity of being a nonprofit leader, that's a different group of people that now I have to adapt and to know about. And that wasn't a community that I came in with.
Mhm.
So what I'm learning is, okay, cool. Who are out there and who are the folks willing to take a meeting, to come to the office for a tour, to support an organization that needs support. That's where we are right now. And yeah, I've been in this position for coming up 3 years now, and I'm still figuring that out, who's out there. And even when I do find those people, it takes time to grow that relationship. And that's where we're standing right now, is that, we're making that investment with networking with people. Okay, cool. Let's spend some time to talk about what we need and then get to that final process of, okay, cool. Let's get some support, some real support to come in.
Yeah, that's really key. And if we can tie it back, to about your projects, right? And your workload needs to be realistic. I think I'm such a fan of networking and what's often called like major donor fundraising and building those relationships. But where I see a lot of people go wrong is they feel like they can just fast track the relationship. They can just jump right to the ask, which makes them uncomfortable. But then they've kind of spoiled the process of developing a relationship. And it does take time. And if you try to rush it, it often has kind of bad results. I'm hoping you could just spell it out for us a little more. Like, what have you found, as you find people, what are kind of the steps you go through to get to know them, to even get to the point of having that support conversation?
Yeah, the funny thing that I do is I kind of tie it to dating. People don't realize it, but meeting and building your network is like dating. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. So being realistic in that fashion is how I approach a lot of this, to where I know not every single person I come in contact with, even if they are within the parameters of what we do as an organization, it won't work out. And that's something that I've seen a lot of, is to where first thing, we're in LA. So LA is just so oversaturated with opportunities out here. I don't like to call other nonprofits competition, but other organizations doing the good work that equally deserve support as well too. Being approached by folks of this nature all the time. So I get that there's going to be some fallout. But when we do find those people that are willing to take that next step, then we invest and we keep going at it. But that's how I approach. Just give it time.
Yeah, such good advice. Give it time. And I totally agree with the dating analogy. From, what are the steps? Like, you wouldn't ask somebody to marry them on a coffee date. That would be weird, right?
I mean, hey, so it could happen. It could, but
It could, right? But
what's the possibility of that
you
really
better
happening?
make sure you both have your signals clear.
Hmm.
But also, I think on the other side of that is, like, if you're on an online dating app, you shouldn't try to marry everybody you meet. Like, not everyone's going to be a good relationship for you.
Hmm.
And I think it's the same with donors. You shouldn't try to pursue just anybody who has money, or even anybody who has money and cares about your general issue or cause,
Yeah.
because they might not be the right fit still. You might be, kind of exciting and creative, and they might be very, demanding and structured, and you might not be up for that. Or, what, I'm just using those random examples, but you just might not be the right personality fit between the organization and the donor too.
No, that's 100%. And also a lot of people like to go for the top people,
Mm.
people in charge, to where people don't realize sometimes the people right underneath that person or underneath that person is the people that you need to be in contact with. So people sweat all the time. Oh, I can't get a meeting with their executive director or, their main grant person. Cool. Try somebody else. And that's where relationships really grow. And then also that person might be leveled up to that new position. So a lot of leaders just need to understand like time and place, and then also the right person.
Yeah. Oh, that's so true. It reminds me, many, many years ago, I was working at a nonprofit, and the executive director was kind of pursuing this very wealthy family. And it turned out that the person who we ended up needing to really talk to was, that family was so wealthy, they had a private family foundation managed by a person who was hired to manage it. So, the family ultimately kind of made the general direction decisions, but it was the paid manager who
Hmm.
decided if they were giving, how much, made the decision, got the checks written. And for me at that time, especially being younger and newer, that was like the first time I had ever experienced that. And it was, whoa, like, you have to get a better sense of, like, how are people giving? How do they manage their money? Who's making the decisions? How does it work? That's such a good point. I want to go back to other kind of things, nonprofit leader in your journey. What are anything that you wish you would have known, mistakes to avoid, things to tell people, don't do that. I've been there.
Yeah. You know what? I'll say this: the journey was put in place for a reason. So there's a lot of things that I struggled through that I'm glad that I did. But let's see, the number one thing that I didn't know about was identity, I guess. Coming into a nonprofit that has been around for so long, when I came into the position as CEO, am I following, the past CEO's model? Do I do the same thing she does? Do I switch it up? How do I how am I comfortable in this position? And that's something that it took time for me to understand. But
Mhm.
when you're in a leadership position, you have to be yourself, and do things the way you see fit. And it took me about a year to really hit my stride with that. But I'm glad that I'm now able to really, spread my wings and really fly and come up with new initiatives and ways to attract donors, attract partners, and so on. And we've been successful with that for the past couple of years.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so glad you shared that story. I often, when I teach about adding staff to organizations, and I teach this, I won't go into it, but I teach this kind of position model where it's not really like a person's job, but there are these roles that need to be filled. And then we might fill them with different, one person might sit in multiple seats essentially. But I like to separate kind of the job that needs to be done from the person. And it's because of what you just said, right? Like whoever, we'll call her Sarah was the previous person and now it's Brandon. Brandon is never going to be Sarah, right?
Mhm.
Like we're just two people are not going to be interchangeable. They're going to come with their unique experience and background and style. And you're absolutely right that like you have to each person should be, I think, authentically themselves in their role and bring their combination of talents. And I think that's one of the joys and challenges of being a great leader is to kind of like play this chess game where you get people doing the right combination that's unique for them. And then when that person leaves, you kind of have to recombine things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you experienced that? Tell me your thoughts on that.
Yes, no, 100%. There are certain things that I saw that needed to be done, such as, for example, easy, the office space. We are a youth-based organization that supports thousands of youth here a year in LA. And our office space just didn't reflect what we did out in the field to where it was a little bit, it was artsy, but it wasn't like full artsy. Then I just went back in time to when I was like in therapy as a kid. And how was the therapist office for me? It was colorful. It had a lot of interactive things to do. And I wanted to bring that to Create Now. So now when you go into the office space, it's really more of an interactive space to where, kids can see other kids' artwork. They can do art on the walls because we have a chalkboard and everything, beanbag chairs. They can run around. They can truly be a kid. And you can also see this when the donors come to where they're like, oh, whoa, we weren't expecting this when we were outside coming in. But now the space is just more bright. And that's just one thing that we've done in the past couple of years to change things up a little bit. And then also the way that we approach schools, just what our offers, such as our programs, coming up with programs that I know kids are looking for. I know when I first came in as CEO, the first program that was approached to me was a fashion design program.
Okay.
And we were sitting there just talking about, is this something that we really want to do? And that we were partnering up with another organization. And the organization was looking at me. And I said, you know what? If it was me, and what can I actually do now? Is animation. So we switched it from fashion design to animation, and the kids loved it. They were able to interact with iPads and Apple, work with professional artists and so on. But that was something that was more personal to me that I could
Well,
actually see. And the cool thing is that we actually had kids come from out of that program now in college pursuing a career in animation. Uh, so that's, yeah, some
yeah.
changes right there.
Big. I love it. I'd love to hear, if you have any easy to share other examples of how have you changed, what kind of programmatic changes have you made? I think you started to touch on, really thinking about what do the kids want? And I imagine there's this element too of like maybe what the schools want and the kids want maybe isn't always the same, or maybe it is, you tell me, like, but what has that been that journey of making the right programming packages, if you will?
Yeah, it's been a cool journey. This is where I really get to be creative. and coming up with programs and events that will help change the community. This Over the past couple of years, I've come up with the 4 additional programs that are event based. One of them is our creative career fair, to where we just get people that are creative, that work certain jobs, to come out and give their input about how a person can pursue that in the future. Those kids can ask real questions that they can't get on Google. So that's one thing. Another thing is a Halloween party. We do events quarterly, but now we're doing more, I guess, seasonal activities. So allowing kids to come out to a safe place, get candy, food, dress up. And this is something that a lot of them can't do in their communities because of just a safety issue. That's something else that we brought in. And then also partnering up with other organizations, such as Discovery Cube of Los Angeles. We made a connection with them to now we do events at their location. So they don't have an art component, but when we come in, we're allowed to present the art component to thousands of the youth that they have come daily on top of our youth to bring in. So just bringing in new creative ways to expand and explore with our youth. One more thing is virtual programming. I know we saw during the pandemic that virtual was the only way that we could actually interact with people. So to bring in that element to create now through a program called Breakout Room, to where we get, people that have done amazing things within their career, within the creative world, to do a TED Talk type sit down with a group of kids, to where it's a live action component on top of a virtual component that we can have be national, to where we're just not located in LA anymore, but we're on a national stage serving youth that just don't have access across the country. These are just creative ways for us to get out there, and we're getting a lot of traction, which is cool. We do have some connections in North Carolina that are actually looking for us to move out there and build a Create Now out there. And this is something that wasn't present at all in the last, 3 years ago. But we've definitely been making moves and just trying to reach more kids across the country now, which is this goal.
Yeah, I always love examples because I think they really help people get more creative themselves. So they hear an idea and then they can kind of riff off of it. But you kind of led me to this place where I want to ask you about the future of Create Now, what you're hoping for. I'm going to ask you a couple questions and you can pick which one or all of them you want to answer, because I've got a jumble in my head. I want to know, where do you want to go with Create Now? And you really brought up an important point. The pandemic caused us to be able to be virtual in a new way. And I think for a lot of organizations, it's opened up the opportunity to be nationwide. So I can see there'll be some of that in there. I also want to ask you if it's relevant, if or what you're thinking about new AI technologies and things that are coming in, and how you're incorporating those. And then I'll ask you again if you forget, but I would love to know, as a leader, what are you looking to develop in yourself and in your organizational structure? So I know those could be all intertwined, but I'll let you just take it however you want.
Yeah. So let's see. The first one is, first off, AI. Let's just talk about that real quick. AI is a tool. And a lot of people, I come from the animation background, to where a lot of my peers, they hate it. And respectfully, I understand, but AI is not going anywhere. We're going to have to adapt and use it. So on an art component of it, yes, we want to teach youth and the kids that we serve how to use it respectfully instead of taking jobs from people. But there's going to be a component out there that AI is going to be very much needed. So we are teaching programs right now based on AI within the arts. And then on a, I guess, a admin level or a staff level, we do use AI within the office space. It's so much easier to get work done just with having the AI assistant there. So yeah, we're definitely using that as a tool. Second question, I can answer all of them. So
Next question is, where do you see the future of Create Now? What kind of initiatives, what's the next level you are thinking about as the leader, as the maybe visionary for the organization?
Yeah, getting Create Now to a place of being more stable, to where staff are paid what they should be paid, to where we don't have to struggle on, do we have enough funding to do a program in an area where a kid is asking for a program? And are we able to expand this thing to be across the country? LA again is a big place. There's a lot to be done here, but there's places all across America that would love anything, any type of connection to the arts. And how cool would it be if an LA based organization was doing that? So yeah, we want to try to help as many more kids as possible. In the last almost 30 years, in the last 29 years now, we've served over 50,000 youth. I'm seeing that number being tripled within the next 5 years if we're able to hit the stride that we want to.
Is an impressive number, I think, especially for a local or regional organization. That's exciting. Congratulations.
But I'm not satisfied. I know there's a quote from Kobe to where he just says like the work isn't done, and that's exactly how I feel right now. Is that that's cool and everything, but with we're working in an area where people don't understand. They don't understand nonprofit work. They don't understand the arts, and those two combined just make it a lot harder for us to advocate and get the support that we need. So trying to come up with a good model that helps people just understand. Is definitely where we are. And looking at a for-profit model as well too, to where we can have something that's steady, just coming in to support our programs, because 100% of what we bring in goes right back out to the community. And people just don't understand.
But
yeah.
That's smart. I mean, I think I see so many nonprofits who serve an economically disadvantaged community have taken a traditional model of just making kind of everything free or not thinking about, but I personally have seen a lot of success and feel that there's a lot of potential to create programming that can generate significant income to offset, and that if you're careful, you can do it equitably so that you're not making access difficult or uncomfortable for those people for whom the financial access is a challenge. And I say financial access because in many communities, it might be financial or it might be transportation or timing or childcare, or there are many things that block accessibility. And I think it's something we need to learn to be well versed in. But at the same time, it's actually an accessibility issue if nonprofits aren't sufficiently funded, because then they can't offer things consistently or, to the level of quality that they'd like. And that's also an accessibility issue. So I think that's great that you are pursuing that. My last question of that bundle for you is, in thinking about what will it take to go to a national level to make that exponential leap of growth to serve the kind of number of people you'd like to be serving. What do you feel like? Where do you need to grow? How do you need to grow your leadership team? What are you thinking about when you're thinking about what you need to add in order to get there or change?
Yeah. So the team is definitely key. Having people that aren't just doing it for a paycheck, but are doing it because they really want to see change. That's where you're going to see a lot of heart be poured into what we do. So finding those people is one thing that I'm doing right now, and I'm adding new people to the team as we speak. But again, the challenge right now is funding. And I want to backtrack a little bit because we're in LA. We just got hit with the fires. So a lot of the stuff is being focused there, and that's where we are too. We're helping support that. But that's just a challenge right now, to where a lot of people's eyes are just on that, not realizing that we still have all this other stuff to clean up as well too. But bringing on good people that just see the mission and understand it is key right now, on top of doing more fundraising kickoffs. We're currently in a campaign to raise about $750,000 just for capacity building and growing. And I don't know why I chose to do it during an election year. Everything's just being thrown at us, but the campaign hasn't really been hitting that stride that we want. So we were looking to end this version of the campaign at the end of our fiscal year. But hopefully that will just put more eyes on us and give us the chance to get what we need. But without that, we just won't be able to grow to what we truly can be. So we're looking for those couple of people that are like, yeah, we can definitely see us contributing to this organization on a yearly basis with X amount of money. And with that, we will be able to plan out what years and years look like for us.
Yeah.
But we have our work cut out for us. We have a lot of good connections out there that we're definitely feeding into. We're just still at the growing phase, even 20, 28 years, 29 years later, but we're getting there.
Love it. Any final words of wisdom for your peers out there listening?
Words of wisdom. Be the voice of change. If you see an issue, don't wait for anybody else to come in and try to change it. You have a voice, you have the power. A lot of people will just think that, oh, I'm working a 9 to 5. I can't do anything. I don't know this community. No, that's not the case. If you just stand up, go out there. I know it might be uncomfortable, but everybody has a way to change something. Just have the courage to go out there and do it.
I love it. And for folks listening, who out there should be getting in touch with you, and what would be the best way to do that?
So to get in touch with us, of course, follow us on social media. Our Instagram handle is Create Now Arts. Also, our website is www.createnow.org. Any type of email that comes through will go through our team. If it's meant for me, I will definitely take a look and see what we can do. But we don't turn down any type of partnerships unless it just doesn't fit with us. We are always looking to connect with funders, supporters, volunteers to help grow our mission.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Brandon. It's been such a pleasure. And thank you out there for tuning in and for everything you do to make our communities better. Before you sign off from this episode, I have a small favor to ask. Please take a moment to share this podcast with a friend or colleague who would also benefit from these conversations and the bonus tips episodes. And remember, nonprofits are more complex than for-profits, but you can win that game of nonprofit whack-a-mole by working smarter, not harder. Until next time, take care of yourself and all the best.
You've been listening to Inspired Nonprofit Leadership. Thanks so much for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode or the bonus episodes. And while you're at it, please leave a rating and review, and be sure to share with your friends and colleagues. Tune in every week for more useful insights and wisdom on nonprofit leadership. Thanks so much for all you do for the communities you serve. Until next time, all the best.